boyfriend she had loved for 3 years suddenly announced his engagement to the boss's daughter, while she, his actual girlfriend, was the last to know. To make matters worse, the boss personally asked her to write the official announcement for their engagement. Because workplace romances were strictly forbidden by company policy, the two of them had kept their relationship completely secret for 3 years. Nobody else ever knew they were together. Even if Iris wanted to expose the false face behind his charming appearance, chances are no one would believe her. And in her heartbroken and devastated state, she no longer had the strength or desire to do so. After the company's annual party, she quietly slipped away and went home alone. She turned on the gas and took a deep breath, hoping to escape the unbearable pain in the most desperate way possible. But a text message alert snapped her back to reality. After confirming that her head was clear, Iris opened her laptop and read the message. And at that very moment, fate quietly began to shift.
I'm interested in renting your house. I'm wondering if your house is available this Christmas. Because if it is, you could be a real lifesaver.
The message was from a woman named Amanda, the head of a film advertising company. A classic career-driven woman, Amanda had poured all her time and energy into work, which led to repeated failures in her love life. 3 days earlier, her boyfriend Ethan, whom she had only been dating for 3 weeks, broke up with her, blaming her obsessive work ethic. After venting her frustrations, Amanda calmed down and reflected on what her past boyfriends had said. It turned out they all echoed the same complaint. So Amanda began to examine herself and in the end made a difficult decision to put down her work and try living somewhere new. While browsing online for ideal vacation spots, a listing caught her eye, a fairy tale cottage with a garden. The description painted a dreamlike image that Amanda couldn't resist. That's when she reached out to Iris. After a brief exchange, Iris understood what Amanda was looking for. However, her home wasn't actually a rental. The photos and listing were mistakenly uploaded as if the house were a tourist spot. Even if Iris wanted to help, she didn't have any spare rooms. Hearing this, Amanda made a bold suggestion. Why don't we swap homes? You stay at mine, and I'll stay at yours. Still aching from heartbreak and tempted by the chance to escape, Iris was thrilled at the idea. After all, Amanda's house was a luxurious villa she had always dreamed of. And so, 2 warm and healing love stories began to unfold. Iris and Amanda each boarded different forms of transport, crossing thousands of miles until they finally arrived at each other's homes. Despite mentally preparing herself, Iris was still left in shock. The living room alone was bigger than her entire house. The backyard featured a massive open-air pool. The kitchen spanned over 100 square meters. Everything around her felt like a dream. It took her over 10 minutes just to walk through the whole house. Exhausted from the journey, she calmed her excitement and decided to take a well-deserved nap. Curious, she pressed a nearby switch and watched as the curtains slowly closed by themselves. Having lived her entire life in the countryside, barely ever leaving her small town, Iris had never seen such high-tech features. The surprises in this house made her smile uncontrollably. But while Iris was beyond satisfied, Amanda was starting to regret her decision. Before she even reached her destination, the driver stopped at a fork in the road.
But the thing is, I'll never be able to turn this round at the other end. Think you can make it from here?
No.
Though Amanda firmly rejected his offer to walk the rest of the way, she didn't really have a choice. Dragging a suitcase twice her weight and teetering in high heels, she stumbled forward carefully and eventually reached the fairy tale cottage she had dreamed about. But reality was nothing like she imagined. Amanda quickly realized how inconvenient life was without the comforts of the city. Even buying snacks or basic supplies required a long drive into town. The narrow, icy roads posed constant danger. Her car would sometimes lose control on the frozen surface, making every drive nerve-wracking. After narrowly avoiding accidents, she parked the car and vowed never to drive here again. To keep that promise, Amanda bought 2 weeks' worth of groceries and supplies in one trip.
Someone's having a party tonight.
Oh, yeah.
By the time she returned to the cottage, it was already night. She lit a fire in the fireplace, and a wave of warmth spread through the room. She placed a CD in the record player, sang at the top of her lungs, and indulged in the freedom she had long yearned for. But after half an hour, exhaustion took over. The quiet made her feel a growing emptiness and loneliness. She imagined spending the next 2 weeks here. The isolation was one thing, but even basic heating required constant wood fueling. Compared to her life in the city, Amanda began to seriously regret her impulsive escape. Just as she was packing up, ready to fly back the next morning, there was a knock at the door. Her destined soulmate appeared just like that.
You're not Iris. Or if you are, I'm much drunker than I realized. I'm sorry for my profanity. I wasn't expecting you.
Amanda was instantly drawn to the man's handsome face, and without hesitation, she opened the door and invited him in. She soon learned his name was Graham, and he was Iris's older brother. Because he had a lot of social events recently, and the bar was nearby, he had been staying at his sister's house overnight for the past few days. After explaining the situation, Graham asked Amanda why she was there. When he heard that Iris had gone to Los Angeles, Graham looked genuinely relieved. It was clear he knew Iris had been deceived by her ex and was glad she could finally start healing.
It's horrible if I stay. I'll be gone before you even wake up. I promise you will never lay eyes on me again.
Oh. No, that's fine. Sure.
Thank you.
Let me just get you a blanket.
Graham's gentlemanly demeanor only made Amanda fall even harder for him. Not only did she allow him to stay the night, but she also brought out some drinks to welcome him. Having traveled across the world to a foreign land, Amanda, who had read countless romance novels, had always dreamed of experiencing a romantic encounter. And now that Graham was sitting right in front of her, how could she possibly let this chance slip away? Sure enough, things started playing out just as she had imagined. The alcohol numbed Amanda's senses, making her bold and uninhibited, and soon Graham also lost control of himself. Just like that, the two of them, strangers just hours ago, shared a passionate night together. The next morning, when they crossed paths in the living room, neither of them mentioned what had happened the night before, as if it had never occurred. But Amanda's decision to stay behind made it clear. Their story was far from over. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, Iris was suddenly awakened by a ringing phone. To her surprise, the caller was none other than her ex-boyfriend Jasper, the man who had abandoned her. Shamelessly, Jasper asked Iris for help reviewing a new novel he had written. It turned out that Jasper was able to earn the company boss's approval and even be admired enough to marry his daughter because of the silent support Iris had been giving him all along. To put it bluntly, she didn't just give suggestions, she had practically written it for him. Despite her resentment, Iris eventually softened and agreed to help him once again. The phone call wiped away any trace of sleepiness, and with nothing else to do, Iris decided to drive out to the seaside. On the way, she noticed an elderly man struggling to walk. Out of kindness, she pulled over to check on him. After learning that he was lost, Iris offered to take him home. What she didn't know was that this small act of kindness would soon change the course of her entire life. When they arrived at the man's house, Iris was stunned. Trophies of all shapes and sizes filled the cluttered room. This collection of accolades hinted at a remarkable past. Noticing her surprise, the old man introduced himself. He was once a Hollywood screenwriter, now retired and living a quiet life. Seeing the cold, untouched meal on the table, Iris guessed that the elderly man must be living alone in this house. Since she had nothing else to do, she offered to have dinner with him that evening.
Well, if you're not busy, would you like to join me?
Busy? Honey, I haven't been busy since 1978.
Over the meal, Arthur spoke of his glorious career. But even though he was now wealthy, the success had come at a cost. His wife and daughter had both left him because he neglected his family in pursuit of his dreams. Touched by his story, Iris opened up about her own pain. She knew deep down her ex had only used her, yet she still couldn't fully let go. That phone call earlier was proof enough. Arthur, drawing from his own life experience, explained the reality of her situation. He reminded her that everyone is the main character in their own life, but some people willingly take on a supporting role for those they love. Parents who love their children, partners who truly care for one another, they all choose to be supporting characters out of love. But if such selfless devotion is met only with repeated betrayal and disrespect, then it's time to reclaim the lead role in your own life. Arthur's words lit a spark within Iris. She started to see things differently, and a sense of clarity and strength began to grow. The shadows of heartbreak began to lift, and she made a decision to live for herself from now on, embracing life with optimism. And as her mindset shifted, good fortune soon followed. One day, a visitor arrived, Miles, a friend of Ethan's. He came by to pick up some of Ethan's belongings. As Iris was explaining that she wasn't the actual homeowner, a sudden gust of wind swept through the yard, blowing dust into her eyes. Seeing this, Miles rushed over to help. With her permission, he gently removed the dust from her eyes. That fated first encounter sent waves of emotion rippling through Iris's heart. It all felt like destiny. Two people, both heartbroken, who had swapped cities and ended up meeting the ones they were truly meant to be with. Unable to resist her growing feelings, Amanda left the cottage and began looking for chances to bump into Graham. As they continued spending time together, their connection naturally grew deeper. In this unfamiliar countryside where she knew no one, Amanda finally found the courage to open up and share her past with Graham. She revealed that her near-obsessive focus on work was deeply rooted in her childhood. Her parents' early divorce left her with an incomplete and broken family. Her mother walked out, and her father failed to take responsibility, forcing Amanda to grow up far sooner than other kids her age. But this early maturity came at a cost, emotional wounds that exploded in adulthood. Over the years, she had soaked her pillow with tears so many times that eventually she couldn't cry anymore. She later realized that burying herself in work helped her forget the pain, and that's how she earned the title of a workaholic. Graham felt a wave of sadness after hearing her story, and from that moment on, he treated her with even more care and gentleness. But just as their relationship blossomed and both had fallen completely for each other, Amanda noticed something she had previously ignored. Graham always made phone calls behind her back. At first, Amanda assumed they were work-related, but as she spent more time with him, she began to sense something was off. Her insecurities surfaced, and she couldn't help but wonder, was Graham hiding something? Was he, like others before him, just playing with her feelings? That very night, she went to his house unannounced, and her suspicions seemed confirmed when she realized he wasn't living alone. Just as Amanda turned away in disappointment, a little girl walked out from the house.
Where is it, Daddy?
Daddy?
Yes. I am Daddy.
Then another little girl followed her out. Only then did Amanda learn the truth. Graham was a single father raising two daughters. He had been afraid that revealing this would scare Amanda away, but Amanda didn't storm off in anger as he had feared. Instead, she looked at the children with warmth in her eyes. Having grown up in an incomplete family, she had always dreamed of a moment like this, even if the children weren't her own. In the days that followed, the four of them enjoyed a sweet, harmonious life together. Meanwhile, Iris's world was also becoming brighter. From the day she met Miles, it took only 3 days for them to become close walking and talking companions. She was drawn to his witty humor. Though Miles didn't have the most striking appearance, he possessed a rare and exceptional talent. More importantly, Miles felt the same way about Iris. But just as their relationship was on the verge of blossoming, an uninvited guest arrived from the UK. Her ex-boyfriend Jasper traveled all this way after Iris completely ignored the novel manuscript he had sent her. Seeing Iris silent, Jasper softened his tone and said, "I still want to be with you. I only broke things off because I was under pressure from the boss. But now, I've made up my mind." The implication was clear. He wanted Iris as his secret lover.
You broke my heart. Too in love with you to ever be mad at you, so I just punished myself for years. But you waltzing in here on my lovely Christmas holiday and telling me that you don't want to lose me whilst you're about to get married. It's over.
For 3 years, she had been deceived. When she stepped out of the relationship and looked back at her romance with Jasper from an outsider's perspective, she realized just how ridiculous it all was. She had spent years trying to please him, only to be treated like a tool he could use whenever he wanted. But now that she understood this, there was no way she'd ever go back. After truly putting an end to it all, Iris finally found complete relief. Later, at one of Arthur's speaking events, Miles took the initiative, and that moment sparked the beginning of their romance. By then, 2 weeks had passed since Iris and Amanda had swapped homes. Amanda now had to return to Los Angeles, where her company needed her to resume control. That meant she had to say goodbye to Graham. Moments earlier, they had been all smiles, but after one final kiss, both had tears in their eyes. They didn't want to part. But Amanda's career and home were across the ocean in LA, and Graham's 2 daughters made it impossible for him to leave. As Amanda stared out the car window at the snowy landscape, her mind was elsewhere.
Do you have a good holiday, miss?
Yeah. Maybe the best ever.
Suddenly, her emotions surged. Her body felt flushed and her heart raced. She glanced at her plane ticket resting in her wallet. As she leaned back in the car seat, memories of her time with Graham began to play in her mind like a movie. Longing and heartache suddenly turned into tears, and for the first time in nearly 10 years, she felt them roll down her cheeks.
Turn around!
At the same road she had arrived on, she suddenly told the driver to stop. Then, without a second thought, she ran toward the beautiful future she knew was waiting for her. Though the film never shows exactly how Amanda and Graham balance love and reality, it leaves us believing that true love can overcome distance. In the final scene, all 4 characters gather at the cozy cottage. Iris and Amanda finally met. In unfamiliar surroundings, they each rediscovered themselves and found love. Iris's gentle shyness and Miles's warm, thoughtful nature complemented each other perfectly. Amanda's confident independence collided beautifully with Graham's honesty and devotion. The cottage and the villa were more than just homes. They were sanctuaries for the soul, offering healing and strength. The film reminds us that when life becomes confusing, stepping out of your comfort zone might just lead you to a different kind of beauty. Like 2 mugs of hot cocoa, each with its own flavor, both bring warmth and leave behind a lingering sweetness that stays long after the final sip.